Respect is rarely given, it's earned. And here's the truth. You don't need to speak a single word to show your value. People are already making decisions about you before you ever open your mouth. The moment you step into a room, they're reading your body language, your presence, your energy, and whether you like it or not, they're forming a judgment about who you are, what you stand for, and whether or not you deserve their respect. That's because psychology tells us first impressions are lightning fast. In less than 7 seconds, people decide if you're someone they should take seriously, and words barely matter. What carries weight is how you hold yourself, the way you move, the calm in your eyes, the confidence in your posture. Without saying anything, you're either commanding attention or giving it away. Think about it. When someone walks in slouched, hesitant, fidgeting, you feel their insecurity instantly. But when a person enters with composure, standing tall, moving with purpose, you can't help but notice. That's presence. That's silent power. And that's how you show your worth without uttering a word. Because people believe what you project long before they believe what you say. When you walk into any room, people are sizing you up instantly. It's not when you start speaking, it's the second you appear. Psychology proves it. Within moments, your presence tells people everything they think they need to know about you. And here's what most don't realize. Your words play the smallest role. What truly speaks is your posture, your energy, your composure. That is what people lock onto. That is what creates respect before you've said a single word. Think about it. When someone enters a room with hesitation, head down, shoulders slouched, movements quick and nervous, you can feel that weakness without them saying anything. And when someone walks in upright, calm, with steady eye contact, you feel their authority just as fast. You don't question it, you sense it. That's because your body is always communicating, whether you're intentional about it or not. Every gesture, every step, every pause, it either builds your presence or tears it down. So if you want to command respect, you don't start with clever words or explanations. You start with how you carry yourself. People read confidence, they read self-respect, and they respond to it. Presence is the silent language of power. Posture. Own your frame. The way you hold your body is the very first message you deliver to the world. And it speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Long before someone hears your voice, they see how you carry yourself. Stand tall, shoulders back, chest open, chin level, not lifted too high like arrogance, not dropped low like defeat. That single adjustment tells people, I respect myself, I value myself, and so should you. When you slouch, when you fold inward, you're literally shrinking your presence. You're sending the signal that you want to disappear, that you don't belong, that you're uncertain, and people pick up on that instantly, whether they realize it or not. Think about the people you've encountered who left a strong impression on you without speaking a single word. What did they have? They owned their frame. Their body language said, I know who I am. That's not luck. That's not genetics. That's posture. Psychology research shows that when you expand your body, when you open up your frame, you actually change the way your brain feels about itself. Hormones shift. Your mind registers strength. That confidence isn't just projected outward, it's reinforced inward. Posture is power, but it's also discipline. You need to train your body to hold itself in alignment until it becomes second nature. That means being aware. Catching yourself when you slump over your phone, when you hunch at a table, when you shrink to make yourself smaller. Because every time you do that, you're conditioning yourself to be less visible, less commanding, less respected. And here's the truth. People treat you the way you treat yourself. If you carry yourself like someone who doesn't matter, don't be surprised when others reflect that back to you. Now imagine walking into a meeting, an interview, or even just stepping into a room full of strangers. If your body is upright, your shoulders are set back, your stride is strong but not rushed, people will take notice. They might not consciously say, oh, look at that person's posture, but subconsciously, their brains are categorizing you as someone to be taken seriously. You're telling the room, I belong here, I have nothing to prove. and that message lands before you ever introduce yourself. Owning your frame also changes the way people respond in conversation. If you collapse into yourself, if you shrink down, people will naturally dominate the space. But if you maintain presence, if your body stays aligned, open, calm, you shift the dynamic. You set the tone. Even in silence, your body asserts respect. That's why posture isn't just about standing tall. It's about embodying a state of grounded confidence at all times. When you hold your frame, you're not just commanding the attention of others, you're commanding yourself. You're teaching your own mind and body. I am worth being seen. I am worth being heard. And that single choice changes the entire way people experience you. Eye contact. Calm, steady, controlled. Your eyes tell the story of who you are before you ever open your mouth. They reveal confidence, insecurity, fear, power, everything. The way you hold eye contact can either elevate you or diminish you in an instant. People read it without even realizing they're doing it. A calm, steady gaze tells the world you're grounded, you're present, and you're unshakable. When your eyes dart around the room, when you can't hold someone's gaze for more than a second, you're broadcasting doubt. And let me tell you, people pick up on that faster than anything you'll ever say. Think about the times you've been in a conversation and the other person couldn't look you in the eye. What did you think? That they were nervous? That they were hiding something? Maybe you didn't trust them. That's because eye contact is tied directly to trust and respect. The person who can look directly at someone with composure, without flinching, without blinking nervously, without breaking too quickly, automatically earns credibility. It's not about staring someone down. That's aggression. That's insecurity trying to masquerade as power. True power is calm. It's controlled. It's the ability to look at someone, steady and unhurried, and make them feel your presence without saying a single word. Eye contact also signals that you're comfortable in your own skin. When you look at someone and you don't need to look away immediately, you're saying, I have nothing to hide. People sense authenticity through your eyes. They can feel if you're genuine or pretending. That's why leaders, negotiators, people who command authority, they master their gaze. They use it deliberately. They don't waste it. Because when you look directly at someone, you're not just communicating, you're connecting. And when you do it with strength, they remember it. Now here's where psychology comes into play. Human beings are wired to follow the gaze of others. If you look uncertain, shifting your eyes from one spot to another, people unconsciously see you as unsure, not in control. But if your gaze is steady, people will follow it. They will assume you know where you're going, and by extension, they'll trust your direction. That's influence without saying a word. But make no mistake, eye contact is about balance. Too little, and you vanish in the eyes of others. Too much, and you cross into intimidation or arrogance. The sweet spot is steady and calm, just long enough to hold connection, then break naturally. This rhythm shows poise. It shows restraint. It shows you don't need to dominate. You already own yourself. And that is what commands respect. So train yourself to master this. Practice holding someone's gaze when you're speaking and when you're listening. Don't rush, don't force it, just be there. That presence in your eyes is often stronger than anything you could ever say aloud. It is your silent way of telling the world, I am here, I am confident, I am not afraid. Controlled movements, less is more. Every move you make is sending a signal, and most people don't even realize it. The way you shift in your chair, how quickly you use your hands when you talk, the way your feet tap on the ground, it all communicates something about you. Nervous movements broadcast insecurity. Fidgeting tells people you're unsure, maybe even overwhelmed. Quick, jittery gestures suggest you're trying too hard or you don't trust yourself, and people read that instantly. You don't need to announce that you're uncomfortable. Your body is already doing it for you. But when your movements are slow, controlled, and deliberate, you communicate the opposite. You show the world that you are grounded, centered, and confident in your own skin. Think about someone walking across a stage or into a meeting without rushing, without jerking their head around, without unnecessary motion. Every step is measured. Every gesture is purposeful. That kind of composure makes people stop and pay attention. You don't have to say, I'm in control. Your body says it for you. Psychologically, Humans are wired to pick up on these cues. We trust people whose body language shows stability. We question those who appear restless. In fact, when your movements slow down, you actually regulate your own nervous system. You calm your breathing, you steady your thoughts, and you project authority both inward and outward. Leaders know this. That's why you rarely see someone in a position of power flailing their arms or tapping their feet anxiously. They conserve energy. They move with purpose. So train yourself to notice the little things. Instead of shifting constantly in your chair, hold still. Instead of waving your hands wildly when you talk, make one or two controlled gestures that reinforce your point. Instead of rushing to pick up your phone, your pen, your glass of water, do it calmly, as if you have all the time in the world. Because when you move slowly and with control, you send the signal that you're not easily rattled, that no matter what's happening around you, you remain steady. Less is more. The less unnecessary movement you make, the more authority you command. People don't respect chaos, they respect composure. And composure is built through the discipline of mastering your movements. Dress intentionally, silent respect. Before you ever get the chance to introduce yourself, your appearance has already spoken on your behalf. People see you before they hear you, and whether it's fair or not, they form opinions instantly. The way you dress is a form of silent communication. It tells the world how seriously you take yourself, how much you value the situation you're walking into, and whether or not you demand respect without asking for it. When you show up polished, clean, and intentional in your style, you're telling everyone around you, I care about myself, I care about this moment, and I belong here. That is silent respect, earned without a word. Now let's be clear. This isn't about wearing expensive clothes or chasing labels. It's not about designer brands or flashy outfits. It's about choosing clothing that reflects dignity, care, and confidence. Clothes that fit well, that are neat, that align with the setting you're in. Psychology backs this up. People subconsciously associate sharp appearance with capability and trustworthiness. When you look put together, people assume you are put together. When you appear careless, they question your competence before you've even had a chance to prove it. Think about it. If a leader walked into the room looking sloppy, wrinkled, or unkempt, how much credibility would you naturally give them? Compare that to someone who walks in dressed with intention, not overdressed, not underdressed, but aligned with the role they're about to play. That person is immediately taken seriously. Their appearance sets the tone before they even open their mouth. That is the psychology of first impressions at work. Dressing intentionally is about discipline. It's about telling yourself, I respect who I am, and I'm going to present myself that way. And people mirror it back. If you show up looking like you don't care, why should anyone else care about what you say? But when you show up looking sharp, clean, and ready, you've already won half the battle. You've earned attention. You've earned space. Every time you step into a room, your clothing is your first line of communication. It whispers, or sometimes shouts, how much you value yourself. And if you want people to respect you, start by showing them that you respect you. Because style isn't vanity, it's psychology. It's your silent way of saying, I'm worth paying attention to. Energy in the room. Walk with purpose. The moment you step into a space, the energy you carry announces itself before you do. People feel it, even if they can't explain it. You've experienced it yourself. Someone walks into a room, and without saying a word, everyone notices. Their presence is undeniable, not because they're the loudest or the flashiest, but because of the way they move, the way they own their entry. That's what walking with purpose is. It's the unspoken message that says, I know why I'm here, and I don't need to prove it. When you walk in hesitating, shuffling your feet, looking down, or moving too quickly, you signal uncertainty. You look like you're asking for permission to be there. And when you do that, people pick up on it immediately. They may not say anything, but they've already categorized you as less powerful, less confident, less important. But when you walk in grounded, steady, calm, and deliberate, everything shifts. You don't need to demand attention. It finds you. People turn, people notice, because energy is contagious, and yours is speaking louder than any words ever could. Psychology proves that body movement and pace directly influence perception. Rushed movements read as stress, hesitation signals weakness, but a measured pace conveys strength and composure. Walking with intention says, "I'm not here to take up space. I'm here because I belong." That's the difference between someone blending into the background and someone commanding the atmosphere without saying a single word. So ask yourself, how do you enter a room? Do you shrink, trying not to be noticed? Or do you step in as if you deserve to be there? The answer matters because the people around you are making decisions about your value within seconds. Leaders, people who naturally command respect, are mindful of this. They don't rush. They don't stumble in apologetically. They carry themselves with purpose, and the room responds in kind. Walking with purpose doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean swagger. It means alignment. It means your body, your pace, your energy all work together to communicate certainty. It's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being the person everyone feels when you arrive. That's how you project strength without saying a single word, through the silent power of your energy. Silence, the weapon of the confident. Most people are terrified of silence. They rush to fill it with words, laughter, nervous chatter, anything to escape the discomfort of stillness. But here's the truth. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can ever learn to master. The person who is comfortable in silence is the person who controls the room. Because silence isn't weakness, it's restraint, and restraint is strength. Think about the last time you were in a conversation where someone paused before they answered. Not because they didn't know what to say, but because they were in no hurry to give it away. That pause made their words heavier when they finally spoke. It made you lean in. It made you listen more closely. That's the psychology of silence at work. When you don't rush to respond, you signal that you're confident, that you're thoughtful, that you value your words enough to place them carefully. And people respect that. On the other hand, when you talk too much, when you fill every space with noise, you dilute your impact. The more words you throw out, the less weight they carry. People stop listening, not because you're wrong, but because you're overwhelming them with noise instead of meaning. Silence forces people to notice. It creates tension, but the right kind of tension, the kind that makes people pay attention. In negotiation, silence is a weapon. When you state your terms and then stop talking, the other side feels the urge to fill the gap. They reveal more than they intended, they give away ground because they can't tolerate the quiet. In leadership, silence is influence. When a leader speaks sparingly and then stops, people wait, they watch, they anticipate what comes next. Their presence is felt more strongly because they're not competing for attention. They already have it. But silence isn't just external. It's internal. When you learn to sit in silence, you train yourself to control impulses. You regulate your emotions. You resist the urge to prove yourself through constant words. You develop patience, and patience is discipline. And discipline is what separates the respected from the overlooked. So the next time you feel the urge to jump in, to explain yourself, to fill the space, don't. Hold back. Breathe. Let the silence sit there. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but that's where your strength grows. Because people will lean into that stillness. They'll feel the weight of your presence in the gap between words. And when you do choose to speak, your voice will cut through like a blade. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. It is presence. It is power. And the person who commands silence commands respect. Facial expressions, calm over chaos. Your face is one of the most powerful tools you have to communicate without words, yet most people underestimate it. Every micro-expression, every twitch, every smile or frown sends signals that others pick up on instantly. The problem is that many people let their faces betray their nerves, their frustration, or their uncertainty. A nervous laugh, a forced smile, or a twitching brow can undermine everything else you're projecting. Even if your posture is strong and your movements are controlled, A face that looks anxious or unsettled will undo much of your effort. Calm, composed facial expressions create an aura of authority. When your face remains steady, it signals to everyone around you that you are in control, that you are unshakable, and that no matter what is happening in the room, you are grounded. People respond to that. They instinctively trust someone whose expressions match their composure. It's not about looking emotionless. It's about regulating your emotions so they don't overpower the signals you want to send. A slight, genuine smile at the right moment can convey confidence and warmth, while a neutral, relaxed expression in tense situations communicates power and self-assurance. Psychology shows that humans are highly attuned to facial cues. Our brains read expressions before we even process words. That means if your face broadcasts anxiety, stress, or uncertainty, people will register it and adjust their behavior accordingly, often subconsciously. Conversely, if your face remains calm and poised, you influence the room without saying anything at all. You become the stabilizing presence. Mastering your facial expressions also affects how you feel internally. When you train yourself to remain composed, your nervous system adjusts, stress levels decrease, and your confidence naturally rises. You start to embody the poise you project. Over time, this creates a feedback loop. Calm expressions reinforce inner confidence, and inner confidence reinforces your ability to maintain that calm in any situation. Your face is a silent ambassador for your presence. It can convey authority, confidence, and stability, or it can betray hesitation, insecurity, and doubt. Learning to manage your expressions is not about hiding who you are. It's about ensuring that what you communicate aligns with the power and respect you want to command. A calm, controlled face becomes your silent signal of strength, an unspoken message that you are someone worth noticing, someone worth listening to, and someone who is fully in command of themselves and the room. Boundaries, non-verbal lines. Boundaries are the silent language of respect. You don't always need to speak up to enforce them. Your body, your gestures, and the way you occupy space can set clear, undeniable limits. People constantly test one another, whether consciously or unconsciously. And if you fail to establish your nonverbal lines, they will push past you. A firm stance, a steady gaze, or a subtle step back when someone encroaches on your space communicates far more than words ever could. It tells the room that you are someone who is not to be overlooked, someone who values themselves, and someone who will not tolerate disrespect. Most people underestimate how powerful small, consistent cues can be. Crossing your arms isn't just defensive, it can signal that you won't allow overstepping. Leaning slightly back when someone invades your personal space is a quiet assertion of authority. Even the tilt of your head, the placement of your hands, or the way you shift your weight can send a clear, nonverbal message about what you will accept and what you won't. The world responds to these subtle signals because human beings are wired to recognize them instinctively. When you fail to set these boundaries, people perceive you as flexible, unsure, or even passive. When you enforce them with precision, respect follows automatically. Establishing boundaries nonverbally isn't about being rigid or unapproachable. It's about clarity and consistency. It's about making sure that your presence communicates that your time, space, and dignity are not negotiable. Think about leaders you've encountered who command attention effortlessly. One of the reasons they are respected is that their nonverbal boundaries are unmistakable. You never doubt that they have limits or that they expect others to respect them. That quiet strength is magnetic. It draws people in, while also keeping those who would overstep at a careful distance. When you train yourself to project boundaries consistently, you also reinforce them internally. Every time you maintain your stance, hold your gaze, or subtly shift to assert space, you reinforce your own sense of self-worth. You are telling yourself, as much as you are telling others, that you matter. This internal alignment strengthens your confidence, making your nonverbal communication even more powerful. Boundaries become not just a defense mechanism, but a declaration of value, and that declaration is felt by everyone around you. Space ownership. Claim your ground. The way you occupy space is a silent declaration of who you are and how much you value yourself. Every room has an energy, a rhythm, and the way you position yourself within it sends signals to everyone present. People who shrink, who hunch, who avoid taking up space are often perceived as passive or insecure, even before they speak. On the other hand, those who expand naturally, who sit or stand with intention, who allow themselves room to breathe and move, instantly communicate authority and presence. Claiming your ground is not about arrogance. It's about asserting that you belong, that you are confident, and that your existence in this space matters. Space ownership begins with posture, but it goes further. It's the way you hold your arms, the way you cross your legs, the way you set your feet firmly on the floor. It's the subtle confidence in how you lean slightly back in your chair, the way your shoulders align with the width of your body, the natural ease of your stance. Every subtle cue adds to the story your presence tells. People notice, even unconsciously, when someone owns their space. They are more likely to listen, to defer, to pay attention. When you take up space intentionally, you shift the dynamics of any room. People instinctively respond to someone who appears comfortable in their own body and environment. A person who is grounded and expansive commands respect, not because they have demanded it, but because the world reads their confidence as fact. This is why leaders, negotiators, and powerful figures always appear deliberate in how they occupy a room. They don't shrink to fit others' comfort. They calibrate the environment to reflect their own presence. Claiming your ground also affects your internal state. When you allow yourself the room to exist fully, to stretch, to move with freedom, you reinforce your own sense of self-worth. Your body and mind align, producing a confidence that radiates outward. People pick up on that energy instantly. It's not just the space you take physically, it's the psychological space you assert. By owning it, you make it clear that you are unmovable, unapologetic, and fully present, and that alone sets the tone for how others interact with you. Consistency, actions match presence. Consistency is the invisible thread that ties together presence, authority, and respect. You can have perfect posture, controlled movements, calm expressions, and impeccable style, but if your actions contradict the presence you project, people will notice, and they will question your credibility. Humans are wired to detect incongruence. We subconsciously pick up on signals that don't align. If your body says confidence but your words betray doubt, if you appear calm but react emotionally in small situations, that disconnect undermines everything else you've built. True power comes when your internal state, your outward presence, and your behavior are in harmony. Every decision, every gesture, every small interaction contributes to the picture people create of you. When your actions match the authority you project, people instinctively trust you. They don't need to analyze why. They just sense that you are grounded, reliable, and fully in control of yourself. This alignment between appearance and action communicates stability and self-respect. It tells people that your confidence is not a mask or a facade, but a reflection of who you genuinely are. Consistency is also about reliability over time. It's easy to command attention in a single moment, but respect deepens when people can count on your behavior to match your presence repeatedly. Leaders, negotiators, and influential figures don't need to prove themselves with words because their consistent actions have already built their credibility. When you consistently act in alignment with your presence, you create a silent authority that doesn't rely on speech or explanation. It simply exists, and people respond accordingly. Moreover, consistency reinforces your own self-confidence. When you act in ways that support the image you're projecting, your mind internalizes it. You feel steadier, calmer, and more competent because your actions validate your presence. Over time, this becomes a feedback loop. Your consistent behavior strengthens your presence, and your presence guides your actions. People around you begin to sense this invisible but undeniable power. The real mastery of consistency is subtle. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic displays of authority. It's in the small choices, the way you respond under pressure, the way you maintain your composure when challenged, the way you respect others while holding your own. That is what solidifies presence and ensures that respect is not just given in the moment, but sustained indefinitely. People make judgments about you far faster than you realize, often within seconds of seeing you. The truth is, they're not waiting to hear what you say. They're reading your posture, your movements, your facial expressions, the energy you bring into the room. Every subtle cue communicates value, confidence, and self-respect, whether you intend it or not. Your presence alone can tell people that you are someone worth listening to, or someone to overlook. Human brains are wired to assess trustworthiness, dominance, and competence almost instantly. That's why nonverbal communication carries more weight than words in first impressions. A confident stance, steady eye contact, controlled movements, and calm energy all signal authority and credibility. Conversely, fidgeting, hesitation, or a lack of composure subconsciously signals insecurity, diminishing the respect you receive before you even speak. Understanding this gives you power. When you consciously align your body language, energy, and expressions with your internal confidence, you influence how people perceive your worth without uttering a single word. Your actions, your presence, and your consistency are continuously sending messages, and mastering these signals allows you to project authority, command respect, and establish influence effortlessly. People will feel your power long before you ever open your mouth. The most powerful people in any room rarely say the most words. Their influence isn't measured by how much they talk, but by how their presence resonates. They command attention, demand respect, and shape the energy of the space simply through who they are. That power comes from calm confidence, unshakable composure, and the deliberate mastery of every aspect of their presence. When they enter a room, people notice, not because of flashy gestures or loud voices, but because their posture, their gaze, their energy, and their movement all communicate authority. They project a certainty that draws people in, encourages trust, and silently establishes their value. What makes this level of influence sustainable is that it's consistent. Every step, every glance, every pause is aligned with who they are internally. There is no contradiction between what they show outwardly and what they believe inwardly. That alignment is magnetic. People sense authenticity. They feel confidence radiating from every gesture, every facial expression, every deliberate choice. Even in silence, they speak volumes. A pause before a word, a controlled movement, a steady gaze. These subtle cues carry more weight than speeches, arguments, or demonstrations of skill. Presence itself becomes the ultimate statement. The key is understanding that respect isn't something you demand or negotiate. It's something you embody. It's in the way you move, the way you hold your space, the way you maintain calm under pressure. When your energy, your posture, and your actions all reflect self-assurance, people naturally respond. They subconsciously recognize your worth, even if you haven't spoken a single word. This silent authority is disarming yet commanding, approachable yet untouchable. Every room, every interaction, every situation is an opportunity to project this power. When you walk in with purpose, control your movements, hold your gaze, and regulate your energy, you are sending a clear message. You are present, you are confident, and you will not be overlooked. Your presence speaks louder than your words ever could. Those who master this understand that influence doesn't require explanation, and authority doesn't require proclamation. It is lived, felt, and recognized instinctively by everyone around you. This is the essence of commanding respect, the ability to project power and worth without saying a single word. Calm, confident, consistent, and deliberate presence is your greatest tool. It shapes perception, controls the energy of the room, and establishes influence effortlessly. This is the quiet force that moves people, earns loyalty, and creates authority that lasts beyond fleeting moments. When mastered, it becomes an unspoken declaration. You are here, you matter, and your value is undeniable.